Martin.
Thank you. With you guys, nice to meet you.
Yeah, and Damien, good to see you again, brother. It's been
Yeah, you too, Chris.
it's only been 5 months, so
Yeah, time goes by.
it does, it does. So I wanted to start the conversation. Damien, you and I had a talk, like I said, about 5 months ago. And Martin, you found Damien's story on was it Medium.com or YouTube, or where did you find it?
Um, I found it on YouTube because I'm a little bit stressed about going back, especially with I first need to go for a cardiologist visit to check my heart because I never checked it in hospital. So that's happening on Thursday, and then obviously because I'm a little bit concerned about it, I search for stuff on the internet associating with guys getting back into training after a stroke.
Nice. When did you have your stroke?
On the 18th of June.
Okay. And was it during jiu-jitsu class or was it after class? Why don't you tell us about us a little?
Look, there's a variance of factors that could have influenced it. I'm not making jiu-jitsu the culprit, but I think that I can relate. Because I remember also at one stage I was in a rear naked choke that was quite tight, and I felt a little bit dizzy when I got up. And for the first week or so, when I was driving, I got like blind spots, like or not blind spots, like white spots in my vision. And I thought, okay, no, my eyes are there's issues with my eyes, so I need to go see an eye doctor or go for an eye test. And it was Saturday afternoon. Me and the family was in front of the TV watching movies, and I opened a can of Coke. And as I took the sip and I put my hand down, my hand collapsed, and I lost sensation on the whole left side of my body. Everything went pins and needles, and then I started getting blurred vision, and So at first I thought I was just dizzy, but my wife said no, something's wrong, and we need to get to the hospital.
Wow. That was about 2 days after that rear naked choke.
Yes.
Huh.
But like I said, there's variance of factors because I unfortunately have high blood pressure and cholesterol. So that's also a contributing factor. And then also about a month before the stroke, we went through an armed robbery where we were held at gunpoint. So the doctor said that could also have had an effect, the trauma that happened. So yeah.
You were held at gunpoint?
It was actually I want to sell one of my vehicles, and the guys said, no, we're just going to pick up the money, and we got to a certain place, and then they pulled the gun out. My wife and my daughter was there, so they actually took us to the bank. I had to increase my limits, and they emptied our account and everything.
Jesus.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So,
oh my God. That shit
Yeah,
happens.
that's-
That shit happens. That shit happens in South Africa, huh? They don't mess around out there.
No, that's a normal thing. But like I tell everybody, luckily nobody got hurt. My daughter's totally fine. She doesn't remember the event.
That's good.
So yeah.
Oh my God, man! Sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on over a couple days. So, right. You're right. Anything could have contributed to that stroke. But what I think is a little bit odd is that you had a rear naked choke, you were dizzy after the choke, and then you drove home and you had some vision issues.
Yeah.
I think that sounds very typical of what I've heard a lot of stories from other guys who have had these types of. And so when you got to the hospital, they don't know what caused the stroke.
at first, when we got to the hospital, they did an EKG. The EKG didn't pick up anything, so they sent me for a CT scan. The CT scan didn't pick up anything. So first, when they did the MRI, they picked up that it was a blood clot that went through the back of my brain, so it affected my balance and my vision. But like I said, luckily I'm fully recovered and everything. So when the doctor did a scan, he said he suspected the clot came from here in my neck, and it went up to the backside.
So it could have. When they did the CT scan, you probably don't know. Do you know if they did it with contrast or without contrast? Do you know by chance?
Unfortunately, I have no idea.
Because we found a lot of the CT scan, a lot of carotid artery or cerebral artery dissections have been coming from the choke. So like the dissection would come from the choke, either a vertebral or a carotid dissection. But most of these most of these chokes we find are not diagnosed at the hospital the first time because they didn't do the right scans with the contrast. So a lot of people have been sent home, and then later on they have a stroke. Damien, did they find yours right away?
They did, yeah, they did, and I've been paying attention to some of the stories, and it's often they have to go back after being sent home after an initial scan.
Yeah, it is weird. It's weird that these scans aren't picking up the dissections. When I talk to Josh, he thinks that a lot of the doctors are looking for a stroke, but they're not, or they're looking for clots, but they're not seeing them. They should be looking for the dissections, and then the dissections have been what's causing the clots. And then that's basically what happened to me. Is I had a dissection, it caused a clot, and then the clot shot to the brain, and that was it for me. So, yeah. It's and I had another gentleman, same thing. I haven't released his video yet just because I've been so busy, but I have it recorded already. He called me from the hospital just 2-3 weeks ago, and was in because was after jiu-jitsu practice, had his choke, had some balance vision issues, and then next thing you know, he had a stroke, and they really couldn't determine what it was from. So it's happening a lot. It's happening more than we think. So yeah, I wanted to get you guys together. Damien, do you have any advice for Martin as he sits here and had a scare, and now he's getting ready to go back?
I think I mean, first of all, I have a lot of empathy for you because I've been through this. It was 2012 for me, so it's been a while. But I would say that and Chris has been dealing with this as well. The doctors are really hesitant to say the pressure on the neck causes stroke. Just like anything else, cigarettes causing cancer, whatever it happens to be, there's a million different variables that's possible. High blood pressure, cholesterol, stressful events, all these things sound like they could cause that same kind of issue, right? Because they do in people that don't do jiu-jitsu, and we find strokes in people that don't. Also, I know Chris is aware that there's this subreddit for people who do jiu-jitsu, and when someone comes on saying, hey, I've either had a stroke or I'm concerned about this, there's a lot of people that jump on there and say, oh no, there's so many other variables in your life. Jiu-jitsu is perfectly safe. And while that may be mostly true, I have to feel that getting your neck crushed, not only that, but it's likely that in some cases, when you're training, your heart's pumping, you're really going for it. And in some cases, it's not the pressure itself. It could actually be the release of the neck, of the artery. You have this blood pinched off, and then the release, and it forces it through, and that can create a dissection as well.
I've read that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what I would say is that I think that the likelihood of doing jiu-jitsu is increasing the potential of having a stroke. It may not be a direct causal factor necessarily, although I think it definitely was in mine. But what I'll say is that, I've been training for pretty hard for nearly 8 years after. And I'm careful about my neck, but you can't always, be 100%. And I've had no other issues. So first of all, I mean, it's possible to kind of get back to it. It's my adult play. I really enjoy it. I get exercise, camaraderie, all this stuff. So you can get back to it. But I'd say that the most important thing for me, and I think Chris and I mentioned this a little bit, if not on our interview, definitely on the phone, is that the mental part is a real factor. Like this, like you talk about stress, concern about what it's doing to you. I think that anxiety. I've talked to a lot of people that have had issues with just stress management after an event like this, because it's a serious thing. Going to the hospital, being rushed to the hospital, thinking, are you okay? Is this going to happen again? That awareness. I had this constant for years feeling of like, oh, something's changing. Is this happening again? And so my advice would be to try to manage that part of it, the mental, emotional part of it, as much as the physical as well. I mean, that's I'm from my perspective, which is limited and subjective and everything. But I think that's an important thing to consider, is like taking care of the mental healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree too, because going back to training, most of the doctors are going to say, yeah, not a good idea for the most part. And we're going to do it anyway, because it's like Damian said, this is our outlet. But awareness of the risk factors. So like Damian said, like, I've been training now for over 2 years since my choke and my stroke, and I don't let people practice chokes on me. So I'll be like the third guy in the because I have a stint in my neck too, so that's a little bit of a concern for me. But I don't let people practice chokes on me, and then I just fight with a new sense of determination and I have to get out of like a life and death type. I have to get out of the chokes. I'm not fighting out of chokes like I used to. So if somebody gets me in a clean choke, I'm just gonna tap out right away. I'm not gonna try to fight until I pass out. So I don't even get to that point where I used to get to all the time. So that really is my plan for continued training. Is somebody gets it in on me, I let it go, I tap, or if we're just in training, just tell the coach or tell your teammates like, hey guys, I had a stroke, my neck is a little bit sensitive, that I'm sensitive about it, so if you don't mind, you guys aren't going to choke me, I'm just going to lightly choke you guys. That's for now, that seems to help me, or it's allowing me to stay on the mats. And Damian's right with the mental. Like, there's so much mental in it. Like the PTSD, the being scared, the thinking that you're gonna die again. That stuff is really real, and it has to be managed. So that's feeling good, getting on the mats. And performing is that's Damian's right, that's half the battle, but just having a positive mindset and being aware of what to look out for. Like if I had any type of blurry vision after any of my practices, I in the past I would blow it off and chalk it up to a hard night of training, but now I'll take it more seriously to prevent a possible second stroke.
No, definitely. I agree with the mental part. It's been a struggle for me, especially the first month or two after the recovery, because you get these symptoms that's similar to what you experience in a stroke. And immediately you go almost in a panic mode. Is this happening again?
Yeah, I mean, the idea that the quicker that you can get to help, you know, that ramps you up, right? If you start feeling off, your vision changes. I had a lot of sensitivity to light. I don't know if you guys had that. Like any kind of bright light would be really hard to deal with. And then anytime I had lights in my eyes, I was feeling like, oh no, this is happening again. But yeah, I just I was out on vacation doing some work in Hawaii on Kauai, and I was training with these guys at Kaloa. Shout out to those folks, Longman's Jiu Jitsu. And I heard some guys talking about, I'm really stubborn with chokes and try to fight out of it. And I said, yeah, just be careful. This can happen. And the whole gym was kind of surprised that you could even have a stroke from doing jiu-jitsu. And so
Right.
I had the opportunity to kind of do a local, like what Chris is doing, a local education on it, saying these are the things to look out for. This can happen. These are some things that you should consider. And if I can have an impact, like save one person from going through it, I mean, I think the education part's really important.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, no, definitely. Because, I mean, when I had my stroke, I didn't even know what's the symptoms of a stroke.
Right.
I wasn't sure what was happening to me. And especially laying there in hospital, losing all my strength on my left side, I didn't know if this was going to be permanent or anything. So that rocked me completely.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It takes the wind out of your sails, to say the least, for a little while. But yeah, man, it looks like you're good. I'm so thankful that everything's all right.
Yeah, I have to say I'm better than ever right now. In terms of I'm a little tired today, but you can get back to even better than you were before the stroke happened. And I think we all are willingly taking a risk. Doing jiu-jitsu is a risk anyway, right? There's all kinds of injury and stuff like that. But especially, I think going into it now, knowing, for instance, that you need to be careful with your neck and so on, I think it only makes you better.
I think so too. Martin. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any other questions or anything that we can answer for you, or?
Maybe just in terms of, like you said, the management of the mental part. If you see these same symptoms coming through and stuff, to calm yourself or so. I don't know if you guys have any tips for that.
Well, I'll tell you, if I'm having a bad mental day, or I just don't feel like myself, maybe because I had too much stress at my other job. Maybe it was because I didn't get enough sleep. Maybe it was I trained too hard the 2 days before. Whatever it is, the old me would have pushed through and just kept going to practice and stuff like that. And now I just take the night off. Now you just have to be aware of yourself and we're not Superman. It can happen to us, and we have to take that time to take a day off, take a day of rest, take a day of, just sitting in the bedroom and listen. Like some days I just turn everything off. I listen to my Rogan podcast and everybody just needs to leave me alone. And I'll shut off for a whole day. It happens a lot, man. Like, that's important to me, is my rest. And, like I said, not overdoing it. And then on my good days where I feel fine, I do my training. But stroke or no stroke, I think more people need to look at that from that perspective, because we're not superheroes here. Like we like the whole Jocko that Milicic or whatever. Yeah, like that guy getting up at like 4 a.m. and like pounding out like a million things for like he's not a stroke survivor, I'll tell you that. So don't compare yourself to him. But yeah, man, at least for me, it's just I capitalize on my good days, and on my bad days I recognize that they're bad days, and I let it go. I just turn off, and now that's okay with me. What about you, Damian?
Yeah, I was having, just so you know, I was having sort of anxiety, not only out in my regular life, but when I went back to training, I'd have, like, if I was doing hard sparring, I would end up with like after practice, just being shaky, just being like, having a lot of anxiety. Like, am I going to be okay? And like driving away and having to take deep breaths and stuff like that. And I think that the most important part is like we have some real fundamental tools. Like you can test yourself, look in a mirror. Do both my eyebrows go up? Can I raise both my arms? And I think that making sure that someone's around that kind of knows your history and knows what's going on is going to take care of you. But also just realizing that you've gone through Chris said PTSD. I mean, you've gone through, well, not only that, but with the robbery too. You've gone through some stressful events, and anybody would tell you psychologically that it's going to be a while until you feel normal. But hopefully it's like, gradually it gets less and less over time, and you kind of get distance from it. I think what's given me the most, and it's been a while, but I don't feel that sense of anxiety so much anymore in training, just because I've done it so much. And I've just had the experience now that even if I feel weird or my vision is weird, I'm like, okay, I just need to sit down, catch my breath, stretch, have some water or whatever. I take it really seriously if I do feel off. And like Chris said, sometimes I just decide I'm going to take a day for me instead of go train. But I'm already back. I mean, I think I'm back again better than I was, and I would, the mental stuff, I do some meditation, I try to spend some time outside being with my kids and stuff like that when I can, and it's just going to take some time, just because like you're in a hospital with your part of your body not working, like that creates an emergency up here, So like Chris is saying, don't expect to just turn it off and you're not like, oh, I'm fine. I think, and the toxic masculinity or whatever would be like, you're just supposed to get over it. But I think that ultimately it's going to take some time, but just to have an experience where you can kind of gradually go back and gradually get better. Obviously try to deal with the stress and the blood pressure and cholesterol and stuff too, because you want to reduce all the factors, right? But ultimately you'll get back there. It's going to just take a little while. Make sure that your teammates know, and you'll get there. I'm back like 100%, choked all the time. I mean, I'm careful now, but I've been training for a while. I'm 4 stripes on my purple, so I'm still going.
Oh wow, congrats.
Okay, yeah, great.
Yeah,
congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah, guys, I wanna I want to have an annual get together. So I want to start putting together some dates where we can all set up a time to do like open mats and film like a little mini documentary and get together. So yeah, so I'm gonna be putting out some dates pretty soon about that. There's like 80 of us, jiu-jitsu stroke survivors. So we got a whole posse here.
Sure. That's
yeah, and hopefully that's good. That's good for you. I mean, there's a lot of those guys are still training. So,
most of them are, yeah, guys and girls. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's and that might give some people hope. I mean, not only they run into us, because it happens, and they start looking it up, and we're out there, but then also they see, well, your life can go back to normal.
Right.
And also awareness about this can happen to you even at a young age, because I thought the stroke is only something that happens to old people.
Yeah.
So and that's where the research that we've been doing, we're spending a lot of time and talking to doctors and whatnot. Most people think that the strokes are coming, you're right, to old people, because if you look at after an old person has a stroke, usually they've got a little bit of plaque buildup in their arteries from, years of bad eating, or maybe they smoke cigarettes or whatever it is, or just age. When the doctors are running the tests on guys like us, they're not finding any of the plaque buildup, so they think that's odd. Well, what they are finding is there are sometimes mini tears in the arteries. It's called cerebral artery dissection, and again, that seems to be the leading cause of young jiu-jitsu practitioners. But then also, I'm in a couple stroke support groups, and most of the people who are in the carotid artery or the vertebral artery stroke support group on Facebook, they're all young. You know what I mean? Mostly, a lot of them, young women too. So, and I'll talk to them and ask them, well, what do you think caused your dissection? And a lot of people, it's just like, I moved my neck the wrong way and it tore, or I have no idea.
Sure.
So the dissections are the leading cause of strokes in young patients, and it seems that not only are they misdiagnosed by the medical field a lot of times, but also they're not only are they misdiagnosed by the medical profession, but the young people who are having the symptoms, they just chalk it up to, I'm just tired, I just had some blurry vision, I'm just dehydrated. Those types of excuses of why something, and not knowing that they could have a stroke, that's what's causing the strokes in the young people. So it's not, they say it's rare, but I don't think it's as rare as we think, because the amount of people that I've seen on these support groups is ungodly. There's a lot of people. It's daily that we're getting emails and people are talking about it. So dissection it seems to be very common in young people, and again, very misdiagnosed as well. So that's what makes it, I think, so dangerous.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in there, I think that this is kind of hard to kind of follow, I guess, but I would rather link jiu-jitsu and that choke to having a stroke than just having it out of nowhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? In terms of like the anxiety and the mental, emotional part, I think that's also helped me go back better, feel better, and so on, because it's not just my body failing out of nowhere. It's like some pressure, like real pressure on my neck.
Right.
And so I think that actually allowed my anxiety to go down a little faster, probably, because it's, not just happening when I walk around. It's likely something was involved with the pressure on my neck. And so therefore, if I can just kind of cope with that future challenge, then I'm limiting my potential for it, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I appreciate this, Chris. It'd be great to just link us up. People that have the same sort of situation and have get-togethers. That's a great idea. I think ultimately we just want to help people that have this experience.
I think so too. I'm gonna do more group interviews, and we're gonna start having some parties and making a fun thing of this.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool, man. Well, thanks, guys. Martin, it was a pleasure to meet you, man.
Martin. Good luck.
Martin. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Yeah, Martin, I'm going to invite you to the Facebook group that we have so you can jump in there, okay?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Os.
You too. Thanks, guys. Bye.